Welcome to the Prime Health Podcast with your host, Dr. Derek Barron. Dr. Barron interviews doctors, wellness experts, and healthcare leaders who are revolutionizing how we approach health and longevity. The Prime Health Podcast explores breakthrough science, personal and patient stories, and practical insights that are shaping the future of health and wellness. So sit back, listen in, and prepare to transform how you think about your path towards Prime Health with Dr. Barron and his special guest.
Welcome back to the Prime Health Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Derek Barron, and I'm here to bring you cutting-edge insights and practical strategies from leading healthcare experts for your journey to prime health in life and in business. Now, I want you to think about that for a moment. What if rehab didn't just get athletes back to play, but actually made them better than they were before the injury? Now, today's guest, Dr. Craig Duggan of Precision Biomechanics and Sports Performance, lives at the intersection of biomechanics, real performance data, and the actual demands of sport. This is where rehab stops guessing and starts performing. So I'm excited to hear what Dr. Craig has to say. But before we jump into the episode, just a quick message from our sponsor, Growth Solutions, where we partner to transform passionate healthcare practitioners into profitable practice owners without the overwhelm or guesswork. Growth Solutions goes to eliminate new patient or client acquisition issues, marketing and growth strategies, reducing operational chaos with utilizing proven systems, frameworks, and SOPs. And we actually help you implement AI in some of those AI agents and bots, because whether you like it or not, the bots are coming for us. So Growth Solutions is not your agency or vendor. We are your growth partner. So if you ever thought or said this to yourself, I'm too busy to grow, too slow to scale, or too overwhelmed to fix it, we can be your solution. Just drop the word grow below. Or you can reach out to me on any of the social platforms. But you came here for a reason today, and that's to meet Dr. Duggan. Dr. Duggan, welcome to the Prime Health Podcast, and please tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Dr. Barron. I appreciate it, and looking forward to the chat. But about myself, so I was an athletic trainer first. I worked for a number of universities here in North Carolina, providing sports coverage. Went back to school, became a physical therapist from there, and I've focused on sports rehabilitation ever since.
Yeah, I love that. I have to be very careful how I say that when I say this, but I think athletic trainers are the prime rehab coordinators for what takes place, because you go from on the field when it's an emergent situation, and then once you transfer that into the office as a physical therapist, I think you're a notch above. PTs don't get too mad at me. I'm only a chiro. My wife's a physical therapist and athletic trainer, so I'm a little biased towards that as well. But it was always fun working with the athletic trainers that were out there. So congratulations on the dual credentials. I'm sure that your patients and clients benefit. Absolutely. So I do have to ask, Dr. Craig, was there a moment in your life that ever took place that said, you know what, I want to go into medicine?
Yeah. So unfortunately, I was 12 years old. I was, just like the kids are now, playing baseball year round as much as I could get it. I loved the sport. I still remember that pitch where I felt it in my elbow, and that changed everything for me. So from there, it was doctor visits, physical therapy, everything else. And I just kind of fell in love with the whole process. So, turning a bad situation into a positive one as best as I can. But and I always say God has a plan for us, right? So sometimes we get handed speed bumps or things we don't expect, but in retrospect, it really kind of led me to where I was today. I had a passion for it, and I jumped right in.
Yeah. So do you mind going through your diagnosis of what took place? Was it
Yeah. So I was pitching, and coach had decided to show me a slider. But from where I'm sitting now, looking back, my mechanics were not correct, right? So I was not throwing the ball well, and so learning some of those pitches really put bad stress on my elbow. I was also the dual position player, so I caught for most of the game and then would come in and pitch a few innings, which is, the recipe for disaster for most of our guys. But I remember throwing that pitch, and I just remember hearing the pop, and everything went bad from there. I was lucky enough to avoid a UCL tear, but as young as I was, I actually separated the growth plate in my elbow. So it resulted in a year of me sitting out being a spectator from the sport I loved. So that was no fun, especially as a young kid. So that's really kind of molded me into where I am today as far as understanding these guys, when they come in. it's not just not being able to play a sport. It's losing your identity. It's losing your friends. It's losing everything you've done for the past number of years. So that can be hard on these guys. So it's always important, to really kind of understand where they're coming from and what they're feeling, not just physically.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is you don't want somebody to have to go through trials or tribulations to get to that point. But I think that you can take a back seat or a seat next to them and say, hey, I'm along with you in the journey because I was there as well. Then they, as in your client or patient, can look at you and say, he does understand me. Maybe you were an elbow, maybe your patient is a knee, but I was out of my sport. I know what it's like. Let's get you functioning correctly and get you back in. And probably along the way, you do a little bit of mindset work with them too.
Oh, definitely, 100%. Because I mean, the psychological side is just as important, if not more important, than the physical side of things.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of psychological testing before they get back, just to make sure. Because I have a lot of athletes that they'll pass all the tests pretty early, but when we do the psychological testing, they're not confident. And so if they're nervous, if they're scared, if they're not confident, the worst thing you can do is put them back out there too fast. Because they're not going to be at their top, at their peak, but two, they're really opening themselves up for more injuries or potentially damage somewhere else.
Yeah, very true. If you think as you're driving the car and you're looking at the building on the side, you drive into it. So whatever your thoughts are, you need to go into that. But I'd like to learn more about kind of your unique business approach, because reading up on you that, your tagline, I believe, is progress, performance, and precision. I'd love to kind of hear about how you put that into play with your practice.
Yeah, so with the precision stuff, it's so important. There's so much noise out there as far as testing goes, as far as what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. So here at Precision, what we do is we really focus on the objective data. So really making sure we're testing as much as possible and getting every ounce of data out of these guys that we can, so that we can make as good of an informed decision as possible when we're talking about where they're at, where they're going, and just whether they're ready to do what they want to do, and more importantly, not just do it where they were doing it, but doing it better. And we've seen that with a lot of our athletes that go through here, is they actually return to their sport at a higher peak, a higher level than they were prior to the injury. Especially when you're working with some of these younger athletes. Some of them have never been in a weight room before they get hurt. Some of them have never learned anything about nutrition. Some of them don't know about sleep schedules or, what their sleep should look like. So when we get in here, we really try to educate more just, hey, your knee hurts, and this is what to do, but really kind of build that athlete into someone who hopefully we won't see back, back in there. Hopefully we'll keep them healthy and keep them going strong and let them go from there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So in your practice, you've got different objective testing devices that you go through?
Yes, sir. So we use arm care device. We're affiliated with them, which helps us really kind of keep track of the throwing arms and how they're doing as they go through. I also use a device that's pretty similar. It's called an Active Force 2. It's a similar, handheld dynamometry device that helps me track these guys over time. And I can use it not just for arms, but I can use it for every body part. We also have force plates, and we do a lot of other testing, motion analysis here at the lab. Where we can actually track their whole motion 3D wise down in, and we can see exactly what's going on with all of their different sports and different movements.
Yeah, and I'm sure they don't understand the importance of having those objective measurements, but over time, especially, it helps them. Like back in the old days, you get a concussion. Okay, can you do jumping jacks? Can you do push-ups? Can you do a 40 quick for me? Okay, you look okay, go back, but don't tell me you got a headache. So objective measures, shoulder to knee, whatever it may be, we need those for good, return to play criteria.
Right. And matching that with your subjective and matching that with everything else, it's really important to have that whole picture.
So what do you feel is the key to success as a sports physical therapist that's also an athletic trainer, and how do you implement that into your practice?
Key to success, I think, is a couple different. I view this a couple different ways. One, for me, collaboration is huge. I grew up playing sports all my life, so I grew up in that team mentality. I attack it the same way with physical therapy. We're a team, so it starts with the front desk. It goes to the doctors, it goes to the PAs, it goes to everybody is a team. So you got to make sure that we're all working in lockstep. And so I really, here we're lucky enough. We've got strength and conditioning coaches here. We've got elite exercise physiologists here that can really do a lot of cool testing and a lot of stuff with that. So we really try to work together. So it's not just me, we really make sure that success is when the whole team's working together. everything becomes so much better. So that's what we try to do here as much as possible, really attack it as that team approach. Now, personally, so another way that I kind of view success is when I get patients refer others, so when I've got this word of mouth where, hey, so-and-so told me to come here because this is great, or this doctor said I have to come here. Like, for me, that is the peak. When I can get a recommendation like that from somebody, I mean, that just means so much to me. It's humbling, right?
Yeah. I love that. You can't build a business always on referral base, because if you don't have patients, then there's no one to refer. But there is no better patient that walks through the door than someone that was referred to because you had a client, a customer, a patient that was extremely happy with the service. So, good for you and good on you on doing that, because that means your practice will always be successful and means that your patients are happy with the care that you give them. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, one of the other things I really like to look at too, I've had a few of my athletes now actually come back and talk to me about how they're going into PT school, or they're going into the health field. I've got one yesterday that said he was going into chiropractic school, so I won't hold that against him. But he's going he's going into the healthcare field because of what he went through and everything that. So knowing my journey, I mean, I love seeing that we can help kind of those guys find not just their professional sport journey, but maybe also their career.
Yeah, that's great. If you want to talk to that guy, just give him my number. I'll have a conversation with him about chiropractic and sports and PTs and ATCs. We can all get along, not always, but most of the time.
Of course.
That's great. So how, from the different types of athletes that come in your door, how do you really decide? And of course, it's condition specific, location specific on the body, but how do you really decide their return to sport criteria?
Yeah, that's hard. And there's a lot of different ways to kind of look at this. And if you look at the research, it's mind blowing, right? Because when we look at the research, every different research says something different, right? Especially when we look at the upper extremity. The upper extremity, I mean, at this point, it is a roll of the dice trying to figure out what you want to follow, or who's following what, or who's saying what. So, I really just try to gather as much information as possible with these guys. And again, I feel like if I can get them back to a level that's higher than where they were when they first saw me, then even better, right? And I mean pre-injury level. So that's what we started implementing here at the Ghost Lab, is starting to actually work in testing some of these guys pre-injury. So again, we have that data now. So if they do go down with an injury now, we can go back and actually compare. And again, if I can get them back to a level that's higher, if I can use that force plate data, if I can use that active force data and really kind of see that they're not only just strong, but they're stable and they can control what they need to control, then yeah, absolutely. That's kind of where we worked it through there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, is the psychological side, like we talked about too, making sure they're confident, comfortable, and ready to go. So when they step back out on that field, they're ready to roll.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a difference of I can pitch from a box inside of a practice, or I can run and do some plyometric jumping, versus grabbing the baseball, grabbing the basketball, football, or lacrosse stick and going out there and going on the court, on the field, and putting into real play. And that's just practice. Then go into game time. So, it's great that you work on that from the psychological perspective, because those athletes need that more than anything. I think, of course, they'll never get to play if you don't do good PT to bring them back. But once they're there,
right,
be solid on with their body to play the sport.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen too much in my career where, athletes are, well, hey, you're at that post ACL, you're at that 12-month range, so you're good to go. You should be fine. According to the data, 12 months says you're ready to roll. And then when we actually get them in, we look at it, and either there's psychological factors that aren't right. I mean, just because they pass the biodex doesn't mean that they're ready to roll. That doesn't translate into every sport. So it's really making sure you're looking at what the position is, what the sport is, and going from there, and gathering as much information as you can.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Dr. Craig. A question for you that I would like to say, tell me maybe two different questions, or they'll answer the same thing. What is, who would you say that you are not a good fit for patients or clients coming in the door?
Yeah, so for me, I'm a cash-based clinic. So that's a little bit new and different in the health world, especially in the physical therapy side. I mean, I know for chiropractors and massage therapists, you guys have been doing it for years, but for physical therapy, that's something that's kind of new and different. And so the cash-based isn't for everybody. I mean, some people would really rather prefer stick with that in-network provider and do that sort of thing. But for me, for athletes, what I found when I was working at some of the largest hospital, in the region, it just doesn't work for athletes. Our healthcare system currently just doesn't help them. And it helps them until they're able to walk up and down the stairs and sit. And then from there, it drops them. So there's so much more to that with sports. And if you're dropping them at that point, you're doing them such a disservice, because at that point, it's a roll of the dice whether they're going to be able to get back to what they need to get. And that's just baseline. So, ideally, we want them to take that year and come back better. So that's where kind of my business fits in is I take those athletes where insurance has said, hey, you know what, you're good to go. You don't need this stuff anymore. And we take them, we show them, hey, dude, there's so much more we can do. It's just not just rehabilitate, but really make sure that they're at the peak when they come back.
Yeah. From a cash-based perspective, I think what people have to understand is their insurance is for sick care and injury care. I think a cash-based approach people look at is that we're function care. Like you need them to get to functioning. Just because insurance says you've gone through your 12 visits and patients are like, well, I'm done because my insurance tells me I'm done. They're not the doctor. They're not the therapist. You've got to go beyond that. And I think that that's probably a great approach and a better approach for patients overall. I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, I had an elite gymnast. She was top 10 in the country with an ACL. Her insurance gave her 3 visits post ACL. Yeah, exactly. 3 visits. What are you supposed to do with 3 visits with an ACL? And what's everything research-wise tells us it's a minimum of a 9 to 12 month recovery. 3 visits. So I mean, that's where the cash base is it's so necessary, because there's no way she would even have gotten back to base level at that point. With that. And this was a young athlete. She was 11 when she tore her ACL. So to say that an 11-year-old is capable of going out on their own and building themselves back up it's wild to me.
Yeah. So that leads me into a question. I hope that she got better and she worked with you.
She did.
I hope that's good.
Yeah.
So how, like, you deal with athletes, and I'm sure you deal with 11-year-olds, 18 and under, and then there's adults that come in. 18, they're still an adult, but they may be under the insurance with their parents and the HIPAA and all that kind of stuff. But how do you build trust with the younger athletes that aren't sure what to do? And there's probably a trust with the parent as well.
Yeah. So remember, I was in their shoes, right? So, I mean, walking into that clinic for the first time, I had no idea what to expect. I knew my arm hurt. I knew I was having a hard time gripping a spoon. I knew I was having trouble with that stuff. I had no idea what they were going to say. I was terrified. So one of the things that was really cool was walking into that sports facility and just seeing all the lights, seeing all these guys working out, seeing everything. It was like, oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be good. So one of the things I really try to do with these guys is make it fun. When they come in, I know they're scared. I know they're nervous, and I know they're hurting. So, when we get back in there, we try to have as much fun as possible. We laugh, we joke, we do whatever we need to, because I want that guard to come down. And honestly, I want myself to be someone who they come to when they've got something going on. Hey, I want to talk about this or that. Build that rapport as best I can. That's what I try to do, especially as they get younger. Really try to build that rapport as much as possible. So it's more of a friend. Hey, I'm going to see my buddy Craig. Instead of, oh man, I got to go to the doctor again. That kind of thing.
Yeah. As long as you don't pull out a needle and you're going into the mouth, then you're okay. I think that you'll build that trust with them, in that regards.
It's a whole new level when we start dry needling, for sure.
Yes, especially it's hit the news a little bit as of late. So good recovery, which is important. So from a business perspective, who's your ideal patient that comes into your practice?
Oh gosh, man, I have so much fun treating all my patients, to be honest with you. But I really love getting in some of these college guys or high school guys that are right there on the bubble. They really need to get something right in order to hit that next level. I love that stuff. I mean, at the same aspect, I love seeing these post-op people come in. I mean, I hate that they're hurt, but I love it when they come in and they're at such a low level and just upset. And I love fast forwarding 12 months out and just seeing them get back into their sport and the joy, how happy they are with how hard they've worked and what they've done to get there. It's awesome. It's a very rewarding career. I've been very blessed.
So I'm sure you're around a bunch of other physical therapists in your community. As a way to brag about yourself and your business, what do you honestly believe is your differentiator? What makes you better than the others?
Yeah, I'm not chasing a dollar. That's the big thing. So, when I'm not trying to pack in as many patients as I can get into this clinic, I'm not seeing 2 and 3 an hour, and nothing like that. My patients get individualized one-on-one care. And it's very much, it's not your typical PT. If you're looking for a bike and a hot pack when you come in here, you're not going to get it. When you come in here, you're here to work. And so we combine that strength and conditioning side of things and that data collection. I mean, essentially precision biomechanics and what we've created here with our partnership with the Ghost Lab is we've created a high level D1 atmosphere. This is what you're going to get when you go to a high level D1 college, or even a professional team. You're going to get this level where we have nutritionists on site, we have our exercise physiologists, we have elite level strength and conditioning coaches to go along with what we're doing here on the PT side, as well as the tools and the devices like the force plates and TrackMan and everything else that most other clinics are not going to have. They don't have that information. So it's a whole different thing from doing a bunch of ankle pumps and long arc quads and switching it over to what you come when you walk in the door over here.
That's cool. It's neat that you say that. I remember my wife and I would practice at a couple of high schools where we're at, and the athletes would come in and like, hey, this is really cool how you do it. They would go on to their college. We were in northern Wisconsin, and a lot of it would go into some Wisconsin area state schools, and they would come back and they say, we got more out of our training room here in a room, and we got some of it there. So if they're hitting that D1, I guarantee you when they come back from them, they're just like, what? It was an easy transition for me. Hopefully they didn't get hurt, but an easy transition of I'm a D1 athlete or, 2 or 3, whatever it may be, and transition into that training when they want. They're used to that as a background. It will actually boost their confidence when they get into school.
That's really what we're trying to build over here. So, I mean, really what we're trying to build is so that these colleges, they know that when they're coming from here, they're ready to rock and roll. They've already got the program. They know what they're supposed to be doing. They've touched weights. They know what they're doing when they come on campus. One of the big compliments we get all the time is from our pro guys. Our pro guys come in here and they're like this really feels like pro atmosphere when we walk in here. So that's what we want. We want them to feel like they're home.
Yeah. Good compliment to have. You make me feel a little bit jealous. I wish I was younger back in practice and had that situation, but good for you. That's great. From the business perspective, Dr. Craig, what would you say that your focus is on in your business right now?
Yeah, our focus just in the where we have. I mean, we're in a large warehouse facility. We've got turf, over 100 yards of turf. We've got 3 batting cages. We've got a full weight room. So obviously, I mean, my focus is very heavily on the sports, on the athletes, but any active individuals. I mean, my age range goes anywhere from 8 years old all the way up to 75 years old. So, I mean, I'll see everybody ideally. And so, some of my patients come in just for dry needling. They come in just because, hey, I got a headache. I need you to take care of this for me. Little things like that. So I want to be the person they come to when they're hurting. I want to be the person that they're like, hey, I need this care. I'm gonna go find Dr. Craig.
Yeah, love to hear that. What would you say is your biggest challenge in business right now?
Challenge, being a new business owner. So learning the whole business side of things. I mean, the PT side of things that I've had down. I've got over 13 years of experience. So, that's fairly simple, but I'm trying to understand the ins and outs of these business things, and you get into the tax stuff and you get into that. That's been the biggest challenge. Also knowing where to market, where to put your stuff, where to pay for the ad versus not pay for the ad, or, where to just use Facebook or where to, all that sort of stuff. I was never a big social media person prior to being a business owner. So trying to learn Instagram and TikTok and all that, and you will not find any Dr. Craig dancing videos, by the way, but, trying to learn all the different social medias and what to put out where and when, and balancing that with running the clinic, and actually treating the patients and doing that. That's probably been the biggest challenge.
Yeah. From a business standpoint, it's really interesting that you bring that up, because let's just say you had a twin, you both had, identical practices, everything was working well. One was a better marketer and one was a better PT. The sad story is the better marketer can sometimes win. And that means your competitors that are out there that have some of that marketing dollar, or that have that, they've been in practice for longer, people know about them, brand recognition, that hurts. I had a chiro that he said, you could be the best chiro in the world, but if nobody knows you exist, it doesn't matter. Just right. Like if you have the cheapest diamond, but the most beautiful one that you want to get rid of at half price, if nobody knows you're out there selling it, it's great. And it sounds like you guys are a diamond in the rough. More and more are getting used to you and knowing about you. But as that brand recognition comes on, it'll take care of itself for you for sure.
Right. And we've signed on now with multiple universities, so we're providing both PT and strength conditioning services to those universities. So obviously that helps, just kind of get us out there. But it's always sad to me when I hear athletes go to, big name physical therapy clinic just because it's big and they know it, but they go in and they're one of 3 people that their therapist is treating, and they spend the whole 45-minute session sitting on a table, doing straight leg raises, and they get a hot pack at the end and told good job. That hurts me, because there's just so much more you can do with them.
Yeah. Whether they're an athlete or not, it hurts. Grandma's
right.
An athlete because she's got to get up into that cupboard a few different times, and Grandpa's
absolutely.
So it really doesn't matter, but it's important that you're out there. How has AI played a role in your practice at all?
AI has been great. That's been something that's very new, because most of the other companies that I worked for, they would not touch it. So, for concerns for security or whatever reasons, but AI has been great for me. So, talk about being on your own, but, having so many questions and what to do. Asking AI some stuff has been a lifesaver as far as getting quick results back and finding out things. Now, you always have to verify accuracy with some of that stuff, but at least kind of getting your feet wet and getting into it. It's been my marketing, for me, using a lot of AI. You can generate so much material so quickly. That's been very helpful. It's been my administrator, so dealing with school notes and dealing with, little things, anything that it can generate for you and save you some time, just helps you stay in front of the patient and not have to worry about some of that other stuff on the back end.
Yeah. Love it. I want you to come back into the patient mode here for a moment. From an impact perspective, I'd love for you to share a success story about what really stands out for you in your practice.
Yeah. So recently we had an athlete who was unfortunately back in for their second time, second time ACL, and it was just distraught, just ruined, and so they decided to make a switch, decided to change from the therapy clinic that they were working at, because from their understanding it was just going to be same old. We're going to go back and do the exact same thing we did last time. And they were looking for a change. So they came over here. We rehabbed with them for over almost a year. They followed me over from my other clinic to my own business. And now they're playing at an elite level, and it is awesome to see. They just signed with a D1 college, so they just got a scholarship for that. That's awesome. I love that stuff. And even better, they came in to visit me over break and let me know that they're going into the health field because of what they've experienced. So again, it's a win all around. I love that stuff.
Yeah, multiple wins there for sure. Congrats on that. It boosts the ego, which there's nothing wrong with getting your ego boosted, but that's a huge win for the patient. Huge win for them. Yeah. Where do you see, what's the vision for your business in the next 3 to 5 years?
Oh, I love this. So, I really hope and plan, for Precision to be kind of a household name, but hopefully not just in North Carolina. I hope it's something that maybe even stretches a little bit farther, as we've got some really cool partnerships coming down the road. Can't speak on them too much just yet, but we've got some really cool partnerships coming. We've got some really good affiliations coming. And I think all of these can really open up things to be more of, hey, when pro guys get hurt, this is where they come.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Awesome. I wish you the best on that, because with the results that you're getting, I think it's great. So we'll wrap up with just a few more questions here. I'm going to share all of your links from your social, and no, we're not going to be able to find Dr. Craig dancing. We'll search, but we won't find it. We'll look for him. But if someone wants to get a hold of you and get in touch with you to check out your practice and learn more about what you offer, where would you suggest they go?
Please go to the website. The website's the best thing. We've got an FAQ page on there, so you can really kind of get some more information there. It goes over all of our services that we offer. It goes over the location. So the website's definitely the best place to reach me there. And we do offer telemedicine now too. So we can, our reach is basically as far as the imagination, as far as the internet goes. So, basically you can reach out to me for anything, questions, concerns, anything like that. I'm happy to help, and not just with sports, with anything.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I'll make sure again we add that into all of our descriptions that we do. So 2 last questions. If you could give us one piece of advice, Dr. Duggan, in regards to helping people their health in a positive way, what would that advice be?
Yeah, advocate for yourself. I mean, that's one of the biggest things I tell my patients. You should be the most educated person in the room when you walk in there. Walk in there with like your questions written out. Make sure you know what you want to ask, because it's very easy to get flustered when you walk into that doctor's office and you're trying to think of a million things, and they're saying a million things, and you forget things. So advocate for yourself. Really come in there educated and ready to go, and don't put up with bad care. I mean, if you're realizing that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, or you're not feeling like you're progressing, reach out, look at other locations, because there's so many good providers out there that really care about you. So if you're not getting the care you needed, or if you're being doubled or tripled up, or just not getting, or delayed in care, go somewhere where they're going to look at you and treat you.
Yeah, I love it. It's not that the therapists in those big box locations are bad. They got a job, they want to do the best, but there are parameters that they have to follow underneath that. So I appreciate how you're saying, be your own best health advocate. That's great. And it doesn't just have to be for an athlete either, which I know that you would say that. It's
right.
For
everybody. For everybody. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you are a guest on the Prime Health podcast. We always ask, what would your definition of Prime Health be?
I love this question. So I had to think about this for a little bit, about because it's deep, right? So prime health for me, it would be the state in which the body moves efficiently, adapts resiliently, and performs consistently. That's what I think it really kind of means to me. So there should not be pain. You shouldn't have limitation, no unnecessary compensation, which is really important. And that's across sport, work, and life. So not just with athletics. I mean, that could be with anything.
I appreciate that. I'll make sure I go back and listen and watch that a couple of times, because I like that definition. I might have to borrow a couple of those things and play it here into the podcast itself. So, Dr. Duggan, thank you very much for being a guest here on the podcast. You've got a very unique perspective. Unfortunately, you had an injury, allows you to understand your patient perspective better. You went into athletic training, then into physical therapy, dual credentialed. I don't think many patients understand the benefit of what you've gone through to help them. You shared some amazing stories of how your practice is growing and how you're helping patients. So I always tell our listeners and viewers, please do yourself and at least one person that share this with them. Whether they're around the High Point, North Carolina area or not, he does telemedicine. He's able to help you anywhere that there is. But we want to be able to help as many people as possible, starting with one. It's great. From a selfish perspective, I always ask people to subscribe to our podcast. We'd love to have more people tuning into what we do. But until next time, remember that true wellness is just a journey that we are all on together. Whether you're taking charge of your own health or guiding others in theirs, every step forward matters. So please do stay committed to your Prime Health journey. And again, Dr. Duggan, thank you very much for being a guest here on the Prime Health podcast.
Thank you for having me. Look forward to hearing from you all.